Words of Innocent Idibia aka Two-Face in his record-breaking song, My Africa Queen, may have come to pass as it appears Honourable Natasha Osawaru has stood out as the outstanding one in a million, apparently thus to have taken Two-Face Idibia to where he has never been and made his heart to go tinga linga ling, which made Two-Face's mother, Rose Idibia, to say her son is out of sense, saying Two-Face is currently behaving unlike him. She knows that not all, the entire Two-Face family contracted a lawyer to declare Two-Face whereabouts unknown, petitioned Department of State Services, DSS, for possible act of kidnapping, suspecting Natasha to have taken their son away. The family, in a statement, said the African Queen crooner left home in his loungewear on February 10, 2025, without his bodyguard and has not returned since then. According to them, they assumed he was simply taking a walk and would return shortly. In a petition signed by their lawyer, Wilson Anuj, wrongly dated February 7, 2025 and made available on Friday, the Idibia family stated that the singer, also known as Tu Baba, had been missing since the 10th of February 2025 and had not been seen since. We are writing to urgently seek your assistance regarding a profoundly troubling situation involving a member of the Idibia family, Mr. Innocent Idibia, also known as Two-Face or Tu Baba, whom our client reasonably believes has been missing since Monday, February 10, 2025. We believe that Mr. Innocent left his residence in the early hours of the 10th of February 2025 in his loungewear, suggesting that he was going for his habitual work, but he has not returned home since then. Despite the best efforts of his family, staff, and the management of his record label to reach or locate him, including contacting his friends and acquaintances, they have been unable to establish any contact or ascertain his whereabouts. This disturbing situation, coupled with the fact that those who should have heard from him have not done so for over 72 hours, has left his entire family deeply concerned, the petition reads in part. The family said Two-Face has never been found missing before and his social media account is currently used to solicit financial assistance from members of the public. An action the Idibia family frowned at and said, "These messages are alarming, as Mr. Innocent is financially independent and has never required assistance in such a manner." This has led his family to suspect that his identity may have been compromised and that someone may have abducted him, actively manipulating him to exploit his contacts for monetary gain. The implications of this situation are grave, and the possibility of foul play or coercion cannot be overlooked. As a family, our clients are deeply worried not only about his physical safety but also about the potential misuse of his identity while he remains unaccounted for. It is worthy of note that the victim is a legend and holds a celebrity status in the Nigerian music industry, with countless youths and citizens looking up to him, not to mention his wife, children. Africa Queen musical crooner, legendary Innocent Idibia aka Two-Face or Tu Baba has been trending since the beginning of this year, with him dishing out surprises to lovers and the general public with stories of happenings in his marital life, starting from announcing the end of his marriage with his only wife but one of the mothers of his children, Annie Idibia, to recent public notice and marriage proposal to Honourable Natasha Osawaru, I'm in God's hands Osawaru, the granddaughter of Sir Gabriel Osawaru Igbinedion, the Esama of Benin Kingdom, which has since sparked reactions from the Idibia family, with the music icon's mother, Rose Idibia, calling on all mothers in Nigeria to help her prevail on Natasha to set his son free, adding that the 31-year-old Natasha, who is the deputy majority leader of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the Edo State House of Assembly, put beads on one of the hands and neck of Two-Face, apparently making Two-Face to misbehave, stressing that her son is not with his right senses with whatever he's currently doing with Natasha, that Two-Face is currently going through divorce process with Annie, and he's passing through a lot and the situation is telling on him. Rose Idibia called on Natasha to remove the beads she allegedly wore Two-Face on his hand and neck and set the 49-year-old legendary music icon free, apparently from the love hook or manipulation. Words of Innocent Idibia made the call in a video that went viral on Thursday evening, which suggested that the Africa Queen Music Award-winning icon may not have pre-informed his mother before going out publicly to make a marriage proposal to his found new love, Natasha, a practice that is very uncommon among men in Africa, most especially Nigeria, and more interestingly Benin Kingdom, where Natasha hails from. We observed that Words of Innocent Idibia, the mother of Two-Face, has been quiet ever since Two-Face Idibia traveled to Benin City to stay with his newfound love and trending on social media platforms until on Thursday, when a video surfaced on the internet, wherein Two-Face was seen proposing marriage to Natasha, forcing the mother of the music legendary icon to promptly issue a video press release same day to counter the marriage proposal. Local observers said that family consent is a crucial requirement for marriage to take place in Nigeria, but there are less cases of partners going ahead with the marriage without the consent of their family, most especially when the family is against the choice of his or her chosen marital partner. According to Mrs. Idibia, Two-Face is presently not in his right frame of mind due to the divorce proceedings with his estranged wife, Annie. Good evening, Nigerians. My name is Mrs. Words of Idibia, the mother of Two-Face. This message is for Miss Natasha Osawaru of Edo State. I am calling on all mothers in Nigeria to help me beg her to free my son. My son is going through a divorce process, and he is clearly not in his right senses now. I know my son well. That is not him. Please, Natasha, the beads you put on his hand and on his neck, remove them and free him, she said. In the marriage proposal video, the singer and the lawmaker were seen dancing together to the admiration of some of their friends, and Two-Face spread some cash on her, with her looking as if she was shy or nervous in the video. Two-Face later proceeded to monarch in Delta State, His Royal Highness Epiphany Azinge. The Asajba of Asaba has banned a particular group of female spiritual native doctors known as Ezenwani from Asaba, the Delta State capital, following the kidnapping and subsequent killing of Anambra State lawmaker Justice Chukwunenye Azuka, whose suspected killer's kingpin was traced to a shrine in Delta State. Honourable Azuka, whose remains was laid in state at a special plenary session inside Anambra State House of Assembly complex in Awka on Friday, was kidnapped on his way home for Christmas on December 24, 2024, and his lifeless body was found near River Niger Bridge earlier this month. The Asajba of Asaba, who spoke in a local dialect, said it has become necessary to ban Ezenwani and other ritual practitioners due to their alleged involvement in the rising crime rate in Asaba and its environs. In a press statement, aside the verbal pronouncements and announcement of the ban, the Executive Council of the Traditional Rulers in Asaba stated that, arising from the Asajba Executive Council meeting held today, the 11th of February 2025, it is hereby directed that, effective immediately, all the activities of Ndi Eze Nwani who are not natives of Asaba are totally banned. All male native, traditional medicine practitioners who are not registered with the appropriate bodies will not be allowed to practice in Asaba. Also, effective immediately, non-natives of Asaba are hereby restricted from visiting the Onitshe Shrine. All non-natives who wish to access the Onitshe Shrine must be registered by the Otu Ihaza. Indi Ahaba who wishes to visit, worship at Onish shall get clearance from Otu Ihaza. This is to enable close monitoring of those who visit the shrine. There will be severe consequences should anyone flaunt these royal directives. Long live His Royal Highness, Asajba Professor Epiphany Chigugu Azinge, Asajba Ahaba. While translating and interpreting the words of the Asajba of Asaba, Punch newspaper reported that this decision follows reports linking the murder of an Anambra lawmaker, whose body was discovered on the Niger Bridge, to native doctors and a shrine in Asaba. Expressing deep concern, the monarch emphasized that crimes committed within Asaba directly impact its residents more than anyone else. He stressed that the ban on these native doctors was a proactive measure to curb crime. Let it be on record that we support the government at all times. However, while supporting the government, there comes a time when we must take proactive steps. Anything that happens in Asaba affects us directly, he stated. It is distressing to hear that Asaba has become the focal point of these criminal activities. As a result, we have decided to take measures to ensure peace and order in our land. The monarch declared that the activities of Eze Nwani practitioners, particularly those not originally from Asaba, were now banned. He described their growing presence as troubling and their activities as nefarious. The mother of the Anambra lawmaker points to Asaba, where money was cleared. Nigerian Air Force in a statement some hours ago says that the suspected criminal gang of soldiers that ambushed men of the Nigerian police force with apparent intention to free a suspect arrested by the police operatives on Tuesday around Jedo area in Open local government area of Delta State are currently on trial or undergoing military disciplinary action. NAF in the statement confirmed that the attacked policemen sustained injuries but said they have been given medical attention, adding that the unit commander of the Air Force Base has been in touch with police authorities in the state to resolve the matter with a view to enhance interagency relations in the state and avert reoccurrence of such incidents. The attention of the Nigerian Air Force, NAF, has been drawn to a video circulating on social and other media, depicting an altercation between some NAF personnel and police officers in Warri, Delta State, on Tuesday the 11th of February 2025. The NAF wishes to state that the incident has been decisively addressed. The commander of the concerned NAF unit has engaged with the relevant police authorities in Delta State to resolve the matter with a view to enhancing interagency understanding. Moreover, the injured police officers have received the necessary medical attention, while the NAF personnel involved are currently undergoing disciplinary procedures in accordance with military regulations. As a professional and disciplined force, the NAF remains committed to maintaining the highest standards of conduct and fostering harmonious relationships with sister agencies in the collective pursuit of national security and public safety. Accordingly, appropriate measures are being taken to prevent any recurrence of such incidents as recently witnessed in Warri, whilst the continued support and understanding of the public is highly appreciated. Amos Nosa, while replying via the comment section of the Nigerian Air Force Facebook post, said, "So what should I do with this thing in the name of apology? Tell us what prompted the show of shame in the first place before telling us the action you have taken or not taken. What if the police decided to use the gun and in the process shot innocent people, who NA for say NA accidental discharge Abi? Yeye they smell," Lukman Yahaya said. "This is so bad, shameful and unprofessional. How will they rescue the suspect by force? Is that how they were trained?" Bamidele Emmanuel Abayomi said, "This is shameful from both forces. I thought you all are supposed to work together in order to defend the country against all external forces. Aside from the disciplinary actions, the forces should come together and educate their men on the synergy they ought to create between themselves in order to extract danger. Besides, the Nigerian Air Force is known for her dignity and that shouldn't be allowed to get stained." Emeka Onyegwado said, "It has happened in the past and it will happen again in the future. We don't seek permanent solutions to our issues and that is the bane of our country." In what looks like a related matter, Frank Mauye said, "In this country it is very Nigerian Air Force, NAF under the leadership of the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar has kept mum since on Tuesday or refused to be accountable to the public over apparent act of aiding and abetting criminality after its soldiers were seen in now viral video to have led ambush at the Air Force military checkpoint in front of Air Force Base where the suspected criminal gang of soldiers have higher numerical strength at Jedo in Open local government area of Delta State and attacked men of the Nigeria Police Force Quick Response Squad of the Delta State Command. Allegedly demanded the suspected criminal in the police vehicle to be set free. and resistance from the police operatives led to an act of apparent criminal intimidation as the soldiers manhandled the police operatives, attempted to forcefully abduct the police operatives with their service rifles in their hands into the Air Force Base as seen in a video footage recorded by one of the eyewitnesses. It was gathered that the incident occurred on Tuesday around 5 p.m. at the Air Force checkpoint in Jeddah, a local government area of the state after police officers arrested one of the suspects found in possession of illicit drugs. According to a statement by the Delta State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, Edafe Bright, the incident began when the Quick Response Squad operatives flagged down a Toyota Corolla with registration number AKD-73 Florida during a routine patrol. The police authority said the occupants of the vehicle fled upon sighting the police operatives, prompting a chase that led to the arrest of a 25-year-old Ibohama Precious. Adding, a search reportedly uncovered substances suspected to be marijuana, Canadian loud, and other hard drugs. But while the police operatives were transporting the suspect to the police station, the officers were stopped at the Air Force checkpoint, where NAF personnel allegedly insisted that they release the suspect. When the police refused, an altercation ensued, leading to an attack on the officers. The Delta State Commissioner of Police, CP Olufemi Abaniwanda, described the incident as embarrassing and assured that investigations were underway in collaboration with the Air Force authorities to prevent a recurrence. Details of the police press release as made available by Bright Edafe, read below in quote. The command is aware of the embarrassing situation between policemen attached to the Quick Response Squad of the command and some Air Force personnel attached to Air Force Base Jeddah in Ope local government area where the personnel of Nigeria Air Force without any provocation attacked the policemen who were performing their lawful duty. On the 11th of February 2025, at about 1700 hours, operatives of Quick Response Squad QRS, while on crime prevention patrol flagged down a Toyota Corolla car with rage, no. AKD-73 Florida, but the occupants of the vehicle on sighting the police took to their heels which prompted the policemen to go after them, and arrested one of the suspects identified as Ibohama Precious aged 25 years and recovered some weed suspected to be Indian hemp, Canadian loud and other hard drugs. While the policemen were on their way to the station alongside the suspect and new Commissioner of Police in Anambra State, Ikewe Orutugu on Monday visited the scene of crime to condole with the family of 3 siblings that were killed and kept inside the fridge at Uruwichi in Nnewi area of Anambra State while their mother was away for work at Ihiala. This as the state governor, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo with the deputy governor, Gilbert Onyekachukwu Ibezim being the operational commander always leading mostly indigenous team of special security operatives known as Agunekemba to invade and arrest Babalawos or spiritual native doctors under the practice of Okite, a claimed spiritual practice of printing banknotes which investigations have since unraveled to be false, most especially as wrongly propagated by Nigerian movie industry, Nollywood, which human beings are seen in some of their movies to be vomiting banknotes as a sign of money ritual, although investigations have shown that there is no spiritual or ritual process that print banknotes, but what criminally minded babalawos or spiritual native doctors do is to prepare a charm known often in Igbo land as Okite to enable the applicants, including traders with legitimate businesses, to be able to start committing more crimes like internet frauds or Yahoo, selling fake products, cheating customers, kidnapping, armed robbery, among other numerous inhuman crimes that makes the applicants to get rich quickly. The new police boss in the state said they would do everything to arrest the suspects behind the killing of the 3 siblings, which the mother said they were kept and folded inside the fridge, with the blood-filled fridge said not to be functioning because of electrical power failure in the area as at the time of the crime till it was discovered. The 3 siblings, that included a boy aged 5 and 2 girls aged 7 and 9 respectively, were reportedly murdered and stored inside a deep freezer at a residence in Nnewi, Anambra State, by yet to be identified assailants. The deceased children, identified as Chikaima, 9, Chimziterem, 7, and Childilim, 5, were allegedly attacked by unknown assailants while their mother, Mrs. Chikazo Ijezi, a lecturer and nurse, was away for an examination inspection at Ihiala. Anambra State Commissioner for Women and Social Welfare, Mrs. Ife Obinabo, had shortly after the news of the gruesome criminal act broke out visited the scene of the crime, interacted with the bereaved parents and members of the public living close to the scene of the crime, assured the public that the government would leave no stone unturned in ensuring justice for the victims. The new Anambra State Police boss, Ikeoye Orutugu, in a maiden press statement after the condolence visit and on-the-spot assessment of the scene of crime, stated in quotes below, "It is my pleasure to address you today, the 10th of February 2025, as the 35th Commissioner of Police, Anambra State. In keeping with the vision to stabilize the security architecture in the state, I am on a mission to fully reclaim the public space across the state as well as maintain law and order. I intend to address the attitude of the people on ideology based on crime bordering on attack on unsuspecting members of the public, security personnel, abduction of persons and destruction of government infrastructures and other sundry offenses. We are here today on a spot assessment of the unfortunate incident. Justice Binta Nyako of Federal High Court in Abuja has adjourned indefinitely after the detained leader of indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, as seen in a privileged video footage during today's court session, staged a resistance protest, insisting while confronting the judge face to face, including the prosecuting counsel, Adeboyega Awomolo, that Justice Binta, who is an indigene of Katsina State, stemmed with former President Muhammadu Buhari, is biased, saying, Justice Nyako, who had held a political position of Katsina State Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice, that her court is not a court of law but a shrine of injustice, accusing the judge of poke-nosing with authorities to pass wrong judgment against him in order to be left off the hook by the federal government. Her son, Abdul Aziz Nyako, and her husband, retired Vice Admiral Murtala Nyako, who was once Chief of Naval Staff, Deputy Chief of Defense Staff, pioneer former military governor of Niger State, 2 times governor of Adamawa State, who were impeached twice by Adamawa State House of Assembly for misconduct, one of the soldiers that fought against Biafra during Nigeria's Civil War, a current member of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, who is facing corruption charges alongside his son in a criminal allegation filed before court of law since 2015 by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over alleged cases of abuse of office, criminal conspiracy, theft and money laundering. Nnamdi Kanu could be seen in the video during the court session saying with confidence that Justice Binta Nyako cannot be the judge over his case in this life, adding that he would not appeal the decision of the Chief Judge of Federal High Court that returned the case file to Justice Binta Nyako for Nnamdi Kanu to request the judge recusal in writing and not verbal. Before him, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court can consider Nnamdi Kanu's rejection of the judge after Justice Binta had earlier last year withdrawn from the case. With a marching and unwavering voice, the Biafra freedom fighter warned the prosecutor counsel to respect himself, else he would be insulted. Insisting, the prosecutor counsel, despite his old age, being a senior advocate of Nigeria, son don't know Nigeria law. Saying this with emphasis while reading from a document, he said it's a federal government gazetted law of national judicial ethical conduct before Justice Binta Nyako and prosecutor counsel, Adeboyega Awomolo, pointing out a section of the law that says the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court does not have right to tell a judge what to do. The prosecution and the court don't know the law, that is the fact. Poor knowledge of the law is killing Nigeria, Nnamdi Kanu said. Judge Binta Nyako thereafter announced the indefinite postponement of the proceedings. Kanu said during the proceedings that he was not happy with the decision of the Chief Judge, returning the case to Justice Nyako. The IPOB leader said he was only in court due to the respect he had for the rule of law, adding that the judge had previously withdrawn herself from the case. He said he could not be prosecuted while the case remained with Justice Binta Nyako. Prosecutor Adeboyega Awomolo, a senior advocate of Nigeria, son objected to Kanu's remarks and asked for a definite date for hearing, but indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB lawyer, Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor has called out Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo over the arrest and detention of a well-known native doctor always on social media, Chidozie Nwangu aka Akwa Okuko Tiwara Aki, accusing the governor of violating the rights to religious practice of the suspect as guaranteed by Nigeria Constitution. This, as Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo goes harder on Babalawos, which are spiritual native doctors foiling insecurity in the state, most especially those under the religious practice of Okite or Ezewanyi, that are widely believed to be responsible for the encouragement of people into kidnapping, organs harvesting, money rituals, specifically rampant cases of stolen babies and boyfriends killing girlfriends for money ritual purposes, with the investigation indicating that some dangerous crimes in Anambra are committed by teenagers, minors or underage children, often misled and manipulated into the inhuman crimes by elderly ones, forcing the Anambra State government to enact a new law, that is that Homeland Security Law 2025, that came into effect on January 17, 2025, which banned anyone from advertising or showcasing on social media or any public place his or her supernatural powers to make people rich without any lawful means of legitimate business, forbids any spiritual native doctor from using their powers to perfect magical bulletproof for people to commit crime in the state, and strictly stipulated 25 years imprisonment with no option of fine for any spiritual native doctor that requires human parts or blood to administer charms or protection to anybody in the state. A careful study of the Anambra State Homeland Security Law, the government did not ban the practice of Babalawo, which are spiritual native doctor, but anyone who practiced his or her religion in a manner that violates other sections of Nigeria Constitution, public rights or the rights of any human being in the state. The native doctor, Akwa Okuko, in a video made available online on Saturday where he was seen interrogated by the Anambra State Deputy Governor, Onyeka Ibezim, said he has long stopped the practice of Okite immediately he heard about the Homeland Security Law concerning Okite, adding that he is not the owner of the social media account where supernatural powers for wealth and protection is being advertised and propagated. The Homeland Security Law stipulates 1 year imprisonment or a fine of 5 million naira or both for any landlord or house owner that rent his or apartment out to tenant without collecting a valid means of identification, details of work occupation of the tenant, and submitting same immediately to the President General of the community or leadership of his or her estate for onward transmission of the tenant data to authority. All hotels, guest houses, inn, lodges, motels, shortlets or any commercial dwelling places in the state are by the new law mandated to install CCTV cameras on their facilities, with mandatory collection of valid ID card from guests or users of the HomeAway accommodation before checking them into their room. Report daily to appropriate authority the CCTV recording and data collected from the users, and failure to do so, the proprietor of the place of hospitality will be sentenced to 6 months imprisonment or a fine of 1 million naira or both. The law stipulates 6 years jail term or a fine of 20. United Nations UN says dozens of inmates with more than 150 female prisoners alongside their babies were burnt alive on January 27, 2025 when some detainees at Muzenze prison in Goma set fire on the facility to escape after M23 advanced to take over the city, forcing prison guards to flee and shot dead many inmates. Videos posted online by local media showed UN staff recovering some of the bodies burnt beyond recognition at the female cells. One of the relatives of the burnt inmates said her mother was committed to the prison 2 years ago for stealing. She was able to recognize her mother's body, saying her mother had braided hair before the prison break, adding that the baby her mother had while inside the prison also died in the inferno. One of the female prisoners who sustained injuries from the inferno while speaking from her hospital bed said that there were over 124 babies at the Muzenze prison facility, explaining that most of them were asleep when the fire came falling on them, including the babies. It was also gathered that some of the female prisoners among the more than 150 persons burnt alive during the incident were raped by the escaping male detainees. More than 4,000 detainees escaped as the M23 rebel alliance battled with Congolese forces over control of the city, CNN correspondent Salma Abdelaziz reported. A senior UN official in the Democratic Republic of Congo said on Wednesday that nearly 3,000 people were killed in the fighting between M23 militants and the Congolese National Army over control of the Goma eastern city. Vivian van der Perry, the deputy head of the United Nations mission in the DRC, reportedly told reporters in a video call from Goma that UN teams are actively helping the M23 to collect the dead from the city's streets. She said that, so far, 2,000 bodies have been retrieved and 900 others are in hospital morgues. CNN reported that the UN Human Rights Office spokesperson, Sif Magango, said that most of the 165 female prisoners who were raped by escaping male inmates died in the fire. CNN added that, between 9 and 13 female inmates, all of whom had also been raped, survived the blaze, Magango added, citing a judicial source in the DRC. We did not independently verify the judicial official's report ourselves, but we do consider his account to be credible, Magango told CNN Thursday. The male inmates, some of whom were killed by prison guards, plotted a mass escape on January 27 as the M23 rebel alliance battled with Congolese forces in Goma over control of the city, the UN-sponsored Radio Okapi reported Monday. Local observers said, as rebels entered the city, Goma's Munzenze prison became a center of the violence. It was set on fire, prisoners were burnt alive, and thousands escaped. Meanwhile, thousands of Goma city residents attended a Thursday rally organized by M23 rebels who sought to reassure the International Criminal Court. ICC has called on world leaders, most especially leaders from its 125 member states and civil society organizations, CSOs, to unite against the President of the United States, U.S., Donald Trump, following the executive order signed on Thursday by the North American president with plans to impose sanctions on ICC officials over the court arrest warrant issued against Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant, for alleged war crimes in Gaza. This, ICC in a press release issued few minutes ago said that President Donald Trump is trying to politicize the international court, harm it, and deny the court the freedom to continue to protest the rights of millions of victims of war crimes and atrocities across the globe. Donald Trump had on Thursday signed an executive order authorizing economic sanctions against the International Criminal Court, ICC. The president accused the ICC of illegitimate and baseless actions, investigations targeting the US and its ally Israel. The Hague had abused its power by issuing an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, according to a section of the executive order. The ICC president, Judge Tomoko Akane, on Friday condemned the U.S. executive order and vowed to continue providing justice and hope to millions of innocent victims of atrocities across the world. The UN Human Rights Office said it deeply regretted the U.S. sanctions against the ICC and called for a reversal of the decision. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar on Friday praised Trump for imposing sanctions on the ICC, calling the court's actions against Israel immoral and illegitimate. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will pay his first visit to the Middle East this month, the State Department said late Thursday. Rubio will attend the Munich Security Conference and then visit Israel, the UAE, Qatar and Saudi Arabia from February 13 through 18. The executive order grants the U.S. president broad powers to impose asset freezes and travel bans against ICC staff and their family members if the U.S. finds that they are involved in efforts to investigate or prosecute citizens of the U.S. and certain allies. The U.S. action against the ICC came in response to the court's decision in November to issue arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister Yoav Gallant for alleged war crimes in Gaza. Excerpts of the statement of ICC President Judge Tomoko Akane following the issuance of the U.S. executive order seeking to impose sanctions on the International Criminal Court reads below. I note with deep regret the issuance by the United States of an executive order seeking to impose sanctions on the officials of the International Criminal Court, ICC, court, harm the court's independence and its impartiality and deprive millions of innocent victims of atrocities of justice and hope. The ICC is a judicial body which performs functions that align with the interests of the international community by enforcing and promoting universally recognized rules of international. In what looked like damage control, the U.S. Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt, on Wednesday held a press conference at the White House, trying to clarify the statements her principal, President Donald Trump, made in the previous day that the United States will take over the ownership of the land and rebuild Gaza Strip for people all over the world to settle as economic center, with the press secretary making apparent contradicting statements that Donald Trump only meant that Palestinians in Gaza would be transferred temporarily to Egypt, Jordan and other neighboring countries of humanitarian heart to enable the U.S. rebuild the city before the return of the Palestinian citizens, adding, the U.S. will not pay for the rebuilding of the city in the Middle East that have been in conflict with Israel for decades. According to the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, President Donald Trump has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza, and that the U.S. would not pay to rebuild it. Caroline Leavitt said President Trump's historic proposal for the United States to take over Gaza shows he is an outside-of-the-box thinker, adding that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. When asked by ABC News reporter Mary Bruce if President Trump would remove Palestinians from Gaza by force, Caroline Leavitt said that Trump is prepared to rebuild Gaza for Palestinians and all people in the region, peace-loving people who want real economic development. In a related development, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said that 461 illegal immigrants, out of more than 8,000 that have been arrested, have been released from federal custody for several reasons, including lack of detention availability. Since Tuesday, U.S. officials have continued to defend President Donald Trump's plans that Palestinians in war-shattered Gaza should relocate to neighboring countries, saying the president was trying to look at the problem realistically, not imposing a solution. Some of the officials stressed that the U.S. wants to work with its Arab partners and Israel to come up with creative solutions to the challenge. 5 Arab foreign ministers and a senior Palestinian official sent a joint letter to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Monday, opposing plans to displace Palestinians from Gaza, according to local media. Trump said the U.S. will be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous, unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the destroyed buildings and create economic development in the area. When asked who he envisions living in Gaza after it is rebuilt, Trump said, the world's people, including Palestinians. Local media reported on Wednesday that the White House faced backlash from U.S. lawmakers and allies who did not support the proposal, many saying Palestinians should be allowed to stay on their land and that it would make tensions in the region worse. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told reporters before his own meeting with Netanyahu that the president was willing to think outside the box, look for new and unique, dynamic ways to solve problems that have felt like they were intractable. We had early on Tuesday, President Donald Trump of the United States, U.S. apparently passed across 2 interesting messages during the press conference held at the White House with the visiting Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying at first that Gaza is a symbol of death and destruction where the people who have been living in the Gaza Strip were living in a miserable existence, hence once rebuilt the people who have fought to keep the Gaza city shouldn't occupy the place again, calling on Egypt, Jordan and other countries of interest to build new domains or new settlements in the neighboring countries for the 1.8 million Palestinians that will be transferred out of Gaza. And by second statement, Trump said U.S. will take over the ownership of the land, rebuild and make Gaza an economic center for people from different parts of the world, including Palestinians, to occupy. President Donald Trump said that the U.S. would own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs, in the area and added that Gaza could be the Riviera of the Middle East. Also saying that the bonds of friendship and affection between the American and Israeli people have endured for generations, and they are absolutely unbreakable. The US will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too, said President Donald Trump. Hundreds of protesters stood out on Tuesday in the US to demonstrate against the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House, but they were outraged to hear President Donald Trump talk of the US owning Gaza and forcibly displacing Palestinians. Trump, calling the Gaza Strip a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades, and an unlucky place for a long time, said the area should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it, and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, the president called on countries of interest with humanitarian hearts to build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza. It will be recalled that last month, the Biden administration, with assistance from the Trump transition team, helped secure an ongoing ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that has involved the exchange of hostages and prisoners on both sides. Gazans began returning to the devastated territory in late January, hoping for a permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, who renewed the war in October 2023 when Hamas fighters invaded southern Israel, killing thousands of persons and taking hundreds of Israeli residents and tourists hostage. Israel has since killed an estimated 47,000 people in Gaza in return. President Donald Trump has said that the only reason Palestinians want to return to Gaza is because they have no alternative. But on Tuesday, Trump said the US will be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous, unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, leveling the destroyed buildings and creating economic development in the area. When asked who he envisions living in Gaza after it is rebuilt, Trump said, "The world's people."
Osawaru, bringing you the news in a more digital way.